is a matter of foreign interference in our democracy, in our streets, in our universities, okay? So they are praising Yahya Sinwar.
Shouldn't you be flying a Canadian flag if that's the case?
I'm honoring the Palestinians.
It's not about Hamas. This is about Canada.
David Menzies for Rebel News here at Old City Hall in downtown Toronto. And folks, we are just about a half hour away from the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, aka Remembrance Day. And my cameraman Lincoln J and I are here for two agendas, really. One, obviously, to pay our respects to the veterans and those who made the ultimate sacrifice in ensuring our rights and freedoms. But unfortunately, there's another reason we're here. We're going to serve as watchdogs. We want to know if the pro-Hamas people are going to yet again push the envelope and crash this ceremony. And by the way, folks, that's not conjecture. I was here last year and we did indeed witness that. Check out this person, not who I would refer to as the usual suspect. Looks like some kind of gender studies grad from the U of T, but watch what she did at last year's Remembrance Day ceremony.
Why are you disrupting the ceremony?
I have nothing to say to you.
Why do you have no respect?
You're a liar, a liar.
Right here, right now. You have to do it right here, right now.
If you are
Right here,
proud,
right now.
show your face.
Where's
If
it?
you
Do you
are
have a-
proud,
Show your face.
Do you have any symbols
Show your
of
face.
Canadian?
Show your face. Show your
Show
face.
your
Show
face
your
anyway.
Yeah, so isn't that the most despicable and disrespectful thing you can imagine? Interrupting with pro-Hamas propaganda a Remembrance Day ceremony. It is off the charts, egregious and outrageous. Let's hope we don't see any garbage like that today. But if we do, we're going to capture it, because I don't think the mainstream media, they're not really interested in that kind of angle, are they? Like I said, we're about 20 minutes away from 11 a.m. Let's see what happens. So folks, I'm with Greg. He is attending the real Remembrance Day ceremony. I have to say real, unfortunately, because there's a fake one coming up in 2 weeks. It's in Mississauga, Celebration Square. The pro-Hamas people have appropriated the poppy, the slogan, lest we forget, and they're going to have a candlelight vigil for terrorists, including Sinwar. Sir, what do you make of this hijacking of, I think, a ceremony that is downright sacred?
Plagiarism comes to mind. Perhaps some sort of abnormality is causing people to think something differently than what we're supposed to. This is a celebration of the people from World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, all the wars that we have lost all our loved ones, and to support a terrorist group. I don't stand with that at all.
I think it sucks. Shouldn't be allowed at all on any government property.
That absolutely against our veterans.
Yes.
Absolutely disgusting. That it's not about Hamas. This is about Canada, Britain, U.S. Not about Hamas.
I came to this country because Canada is a country promoting peace and human rights globally. And we became citizen here. We appreciate the values of the country. But at the same time, we see that the country welcomes people coming from the countries promoting terrorism.
I don't like it. I think the poppy symbolizes the veterans that died in the First and Second World War.
Perhaps there should be a rethinking of this, and hopefully the taxpayer is not paying for this.
I saw the statement of the Mayor of Mississauga. It was shameful, disgusting, and disgrace Canada.
Just a quick adjunct here, folks. A lot of people that we want to talk to about this situation in Mississauga, they were a little camera shy, didn't want to come on camera. That's fine. But we could not find one single solitary soul, thank goodness, that thinks this is a good idea. And I'm almost beginning to think, could this be a hoax? I mean, it's so outrageous. The idea of terrorists appropriating this little flower, unless we forget to honor, fallen terrorists. And as for Mayor Carolyn Parrish, who's basically saying in statements, well, it's about freedom of expression, yada, yada, yada. Really? If somebody with the Ku Klux Klan reached out to Mississauga and said, by the way, we're going to have a rally at Celebration Square, would she be gung-ho on the free speech bandwagon for that? Methinks no. Carolyn Parrish, the mayor, she used to be a Liberal MP, and the Trudeau Liberals violently shut down the Freedom Convoy. They froze Canadians' bank accounts. So I think, they do cherry pick which demonstrations are allowed and which aren't.
This is not a matter of free speech, and I keep saying that. This is a matter of foreign interference in our democracy, in our streets, in our universities, okay? So they are praising Yahya Sinwar, the orchestrator of October 7 terrorist attack. Hamas is listed as a terrorist entity in Canada. And Mayor of Mississauga described the praising of an actual terrorist organization as a free speech. If we didn't have a two-tier policing, if we didn't have a two-tier judiciary system, instead of arresting you, instead of arresting me, the mayor of Mississauga for praising of Yahya Sinwar, we need to hold her accountable.
I really don't understand why the government is letting those things happening in this country.
How are they getting away with using the poppy, using the slogans of the Legion in the first place? Why is this being tolerated?
Because of our weak politicians that we have. They need to start standing up for the rights and morals of the country.
Why? A country promoting peace and is built based on peace and freedom and democracy is a home for terrorists. Those terrorists coming from leftists and fundamental ideologies never appreciate Canadian values.
Why would Mayor Parrish be so tolerant of this group?
Because they're probably too woke. And they don't recognize the sacrifice that people like my great uncle did for us to give us our rights and freedoms in Canada.
They're taking advantage, they're using democracy against us. That is what's happening, unfortunately.
And that's sad, because I always thought the other part of the deal is don't import your old world grudges and hatred, but that's what we see happening now.
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you something. I traveled to Middle East many times, to Iraq. After the rise of Daesh, I traveled to Iraq, northern Iraq, to help displaced people. I helped thousands of refugees. I traveled to Turkey to help thousands of refugees fleeing the war zones. As a human rights activist, I believe I have to help people regardless what they think, what their background is. I am not against people coming to this country, but the problem is we are a home for terrorists.
This report is brought to you by...
Your grandpa was a great man. He fought for the freedoms and rights you hold in your hand. Never take them for granted. Keep your freedom passport close. Remember, son, Grandpa did this for you. Know your rights. Know your freedoms. Get your freedom passport today.
Well, folks, what did we learn from Remembrance Day ceremonies 2024 here in Toronto? Well, I guess a combination of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The bad was the city official who kicked off the celebrations was 10 minutes late. It was supposed to begin at 10:45. She got here just before 11. And it was very odd. The very first few minutes, it wasn't about Remembrance Day at all. It was about Indigenous acknowledgements. Then there was an acknowledgement for migrants. Wonder if that includes the pro-Hamas people here. Then there was an African acknowledgement, the challenges faced by black communities. And then there was more First Nations acknowledgements. Now, I'm not demeaning any of these acknowledgements, but it is Remembrance Day. It's for the veterans, for the war dead. I mean, there is a time and place for everything, but wokeism is part and parcel of Toronto, I guess. And talk about the Remembrance Day miracle. I think this is the good part of the day. Mayor Chow did indeed show up for the ceremonies and give a speech, in stark contrast to last month when she was a no-show to mark the first anniversary of the massacre in Israel going back to October 7th, 2023. Apparently she wasn't in a bike lane committee, and or her invitation didn't go to the spam file in her email. So, geez, will wonders ever cease? And I can tell you, in terms of the presentation being interrupted by the pro-Hamas types, that didn't happen. I think I know the reason. I mean, as the saying goes, the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity, but they are experts in the fine art of public relations. Just look at the woke dopes who are indoctrinated on campus. Just look at the colonized mainstream media. And they realized that interrupting the ceremony, it wouldn't go down well. It would be, in fact, a PR disaster. So basically, they did the right thing for the wrong reason. Now, after saying that, I do notice two lonely demonstrators to the south of me. There is a Palestinian flag and the flag of Lebanon. There's a sign. I'm going to go over, maybe it's just one person holding two flags. Let's go over and see what message he's trying to convey on this Remembrance Day. What brings you out here today, sir?
I'm honoring my father, sir.
Oh, okay then.
He was in the
Was he a Palestinian or from Lebanon?
He was in the Second World War.
Okay. I thank him for his service.
He was stationed in Halifax on radar because he had rheumatic fever. Okay. And I'm also honoring my grandfather who was in the First World War. Okay.
Shouldn't you be flying a Canadian flag if that's the case?
I'm honoring the Palestinians and the Lebanese people who've been murdered by Netanyahu.
Okay, what about the almost 1,200 Jews that were murdered in Israel?
I have to say to you, sir, please leave me alone.
I don't even know him, but I respect him for standing up for what he believes in.
Okay, we'll ask him why he's here with a Palestinian Lebanese flag.
He's not interrupting anything. My Chihuahua is wearing a little thing in the same idea, you know.
Oh, the
Chihuahua.
Okay, so that's the keffiyeh scarf?
No, it's just a scarf. But you could call it.
Well, it looks black and white and gray. It looks like.
Are you going to call her a terrorist then too?
No, I'm a lover of dogs. Man's best friend. I couldn't help but notice as we walked along Queen Street, this bus parked in a kind of a diagonal position across all lanes of traffic. Now, a couple of thoughts spring to mind. Either this is the worst bus driver in Toronto, can't even parallel park a bus, or is it something more? And by that, folks, I mean, is this a blockade in case, one of those trucks of peace happened by? The fact is, we're just about 200 meters away from Old City Hall. Patriots and those coming to pay their respects to the glorious war dead for making the ultimate sacrifice. Wouldn't that be a juicy target indeed for the pro-Hamas people, for the Islamo-Nazis to take out via a vehicle that they've commandeered? I think it would.
It shows that if they want to prevent a peaceful and safe space and free space for everyone, they can do that. There is no willing in our political system to confront them, and we need to keep pressuring and naming and shaming.
And it's sad, isn't it? This is the new reality, not in the Middle East, but here in the city of Toronto, in the Dominion of Canada, that the authorities have to think of ways to, negate acts of terrorism. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menswade Menzies. Well, folks, I know you love it when Rebel News brings you the other side of the story, but the fact is we need your help. Unlike the mainstream media, we don't get a nickel's worth of Justin Trudeau's media welfare funding, and nor would we accept it if offered. So please, can you go to rebelfieldreports.com? That's rebelfieldreports.com, and if you're able to, kindly make a donation so that we can continue to bring you the other side of the story.